All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem with right triangles. What we learned on Monday and Tuesday goes with this, so make sure you do Monday and Tuesday lesson before you do this one because it's like a foundation. So this is a little bit of 8th grade math. It used to be 7th grade math, but they moved it up to 8th grade. It's all right. It's pretty cool. I like it. So we're going to start off with a right triangle. So I'll identify as right with this. Okay. Now we're going to label it. So the two lines that make up your 90 degrees, are called legs. Okay, so you have two legs. And then this side, which is opposite the 90 degrees, is very important that you understand that. So opposite the 90 degrees, the one not touching the 90 degrees, is called your hypotenuse. Okay, so this line, which is actually the longest line, this line, which is the longest, called your hypotenuse. Then you have the two legs, okay? And we'll refer to this one as leg A, this one's leg B. Sometimes this one's B and sometimes this one A. These two can interchange, so it doesn't really matter which one you call A or B, okay? The hypotenuse, though, will always be your C, okay? Hypotenuse always referred to as your C. The legs are always referred to as A and B. It doesn't matter the order, but hypotenuse always has to be C, okay? So let's draw another right triangle that we can actually work with. This is just our sample one. Okay, 90 degrees here. So we're going to call this side 4, this side is 3, and this side is C. I don't know. We're going to solve for C. Okay, so we're going to be using a little bit of algebra, a little bit of writing equations like we have before. All right, so let's start. So basically, oops, I forgot to tell you up here. Skip this for now. Up here. So there's a formula for that someone discovered thousands of years ago or hundreds years ago. Yeah, they discovered that the two legs, when you square them, is equal to the third the hypotenuse squared. So the formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's a very, very famous formula. So if I square the legs, it will give me your hypotenuse squared. Now it doesn't work if I just add these two. It only works when I square it, which is pretty interesting if you really think about it. It doesn't work if I just add them. It has to be squared. Okay, so let's try that out here. So we're going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. What is a? Now a could be 4 or 3. It doesn't really matter which one you call it. Let's just call a 4 and b 3. So we're going to plug them in. So a squared is 4 squared plus b squared is 3 squared is equal to c squared. Okay, so then you do the math. You have the table for Monday, right? So what's 4 squared? 16 plus what's 3 squared? 9 is equal to c squared, right? So now we're going to draw our bars. Okay, what's 16 plus 9? 25 is equal to c squared. Now, that's c squared, but I want to know what c, not c squared, is equal to. So how do I get rid of this square part? Well, that's what you learned yesterday. So in order to get rid of that square part, I have to take the square root to take the square root. Okay, so this is something like we haven't learned and we're learning it right now. So to get rid of that squared, so I square root it. What does that leave me with? What that leaves me with is just c all by itself. Got rid of the square by square rooting it. So what's the square root of 25? Again, we learned that yesterday. You can look at your chart for Monday. The square root of 25 is 5. So we can go back here and say c is equal to 5. And it is. But notice, if I add 4 plus 3, it gives me 7. This ain't no 7. It has to be in this format, which I find very interesting. It has to be in this format in order for it to work. All right, let's do a couple more. This one takes just practice. It's not very hard. All right, let's do this one. So 12, 5, C. So we're going to use a formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? So a, let's just call this one A, this one B, and C. So A is 12 squared, so 12 squared plus 5 squared is equal to C squared, right? So 12 squared, look at your chart from Monday, what's 12 times 12? 144, plus what's 5 squared? 5 squared is 25 is equal to C squared. I'm going to add these two numbers. Go ahead and add those two numbers. 169 is equal to C squared. Now C does not equal 169. C squared equals 169. But I want to know what C all by itself is. So the very last step you have to do is take the square root, take the square root. You have this in your chart. Go back and look at your chart. What's the square root of 169? So you look at your chart from Monday. Here, you find 169. Oh, right there. That means it's 13 squared, but I don't need the square. I just look at the base. The base is 13. So therefore, C is equal to 13. Check. Numbers make sense. More together. So 9, 12C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Go ahead and plug in the numbers before I do. Hopefully you wrote that. 9 squared is 81 plus 144 is equal to C squared. Go ahead and add these two. If you need to go on the side and add them, by all means, do it. You get 225. 225 is equal to C squared. Now let's pretend, okay, so the last step is to square root it, right? Now let's pretend like you didn't have this on your chart. Like, oh my gosh. Well, what you could do is, if you have a calculator, like your phone, it's not here. But when I rotate my phone this way, I have all this extra stuff. And on an iPhone, it is, where's my square root? I can't find it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So it's that one. It has a little 2 on it, okay? So let's say 225, type in 225 and then hit, it has the X inside the square root sign and a little 2 outside. It's right there. So third line, second one over, hit that, it's 15. Let me prove it to you. What's the square root of 100? 10. What's the square root of 25? 5, okay? So 225, type it in, then you hit that, which is your square root, and that's your answer, 15. So square root of 225 is 15, so C is equal to 15. If you had your chart, of course, there it is, 225 is 15. If on the worksheet that I give you, the numbers are really big, you end up doing this work and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a really big number. Again, you can type in your number, like 81, take the square root, you get 9, okay? 64, square root, 8. So it's on your calculator. If you don't have an iPhone, I'm sure the other phones also have the square root. I'm sure your Google calculator on your iPad, when you Google search calculator has a square root symbol. So all you have to do is just find this symbol on your calculator. On the iPhone, it's that. It has a 2 outside. Don't press the one that has a 3. That's different. So this is your square root with 2, like a square. Okay? All right. Awesome. Those are great.